as a communicator, in your work of content creation, share the message of people versus project? Is there a difference in the wording or mindset?
I think that's a great question. So tapping back to some of the things that other panelists, especially what you've mentioned as well, right? It's not just the client, but it's also the team that's working with you. You kind of have to protect them as well. So that's how it ensures the quality of the content. Now, I have two keywords to throw out here for everybody to kind of think about, which you obviously would have heard of it, considering we're all marketers. First thing is consistency. The second thing is transparency. Now, obviously, we've all touched up on these aspects based on different elements within running a business or being a marketer. When it comes to content marketing specifically, what I'm really trying to get at is transparency does not only just come from the operations, the workflow, or the team members that's working with you, but what is often forgotten as well is it has to come from the boss. It has to come from the person who built that brand, because more than likely they have actually forgotten along the way when they're building out their business what they're really wanting to do, right? They're kind of trapped in the mindset of every month's ROI or their budget or other things that's happening within their life. But they've often forgotten what is it that they're trying to do with their brand. Most likely all of the time, it's been started to solve a problem of their own. And that is what we need to actually dig up back from the past and convey it and express it through the idea of content. Now, I'm not limiting that to social media, but all content. What we're doing here is a piece of content. Offline experiences are pieces of content. Conferences, the chat that you have with other different members of attendees, those are all content. What are you doing these content for? That is where the transparency actually should lie. Now, second point is consistency. Now, of course, if you're like a lot of people here who are very experienced with social media, it gets thrown around a lot, right? Consistency. You have to be consistent on this platform. You have to be consistent on your content. You have to be consistent on doing all these things. It gets kind of stuck in your mind so much that you're like, yeah, just repeatedly do the same thing. Now, when I'm talking about consistency based on especially the idea of content marketing, what that means is you have to ensure that there is a pattern being achieved through content by your brand, not limited or bounded by the idea of format or distribution channel. What that means is the person behind who is doing that or creating that piece of content is able to be consistently delivering. Now, that actually lies in the person, not so much as to the trends or the platform or the algorithm that's being changed. What that means is, it ties back to the first point that I made in this panel as well. If you're real, if you're being authentic, if you're being yourself, that's definitely going to result you in being consistent. Because if I like eating candy, I'm always going to be liking eating candy. If I started off pretending to like candy because it fitted the brand or because it was easier to convey to the client, that's where you break down on consistency. So that's the idea when it comes to specifically in throughout my experiences of working with different clients or just working with different team members as well. That's where you can actually achieve what we call consistency, the true idea of being consistent in creating content, as well as achieving that transparency of really realizing and remembering what it is that your brand has set out on to do. So with that said, I want to throw the ball back to you, Angela, with your expertise in behavior and your understanding of different forms of communication. What do you have to add to some of the things that we've mentioned when it comes to people over projects?
Thanks, Joyce.